Hello, welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Modelcollect's 172nd B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber. The most expensive piece of military hardware in aviation, I do believe. Something like, is it a £1 billion price tag on each one of these things? That's why they haven't got so many of them. Definitely though, a kit we've been looking for a long time. Let's face it, testers, they did one. Yeah, okay, it was alright for its day, but there hasn't been one ever since. And even the smaller scales in 144, things like that, they haven't exactly been brilliant. So it's nice that Modelcollect have come along and they're tackling these aircraft, and let's face it, they're working their way through their very iconic range. So we've got obviously the B2, we've got the B52 family coming along, and no doubt we'll be seeing the B1s as well at some point in the future. So let's have a look, see what we've got. To be honest, I do like the box art. It's something very subtle about it. The clean lines, that batwing effect of the B2 in a very simple sky screen type space for it as well. It's something quite, you know, I like that. That's very nice. So on the box, running around, sorry, it's falling open. We can see we've got some CAD work showing off that we've got full internal details. We've got obviously the bomb bays, we've got some engine detail underneath and things like that going on there. Around on here, so you can see we've got this one in stock at the PM store for £85 as well. Part number of this one is UA72201. Colour call outs and your marking options down in there. So who've we got then? We've got Spirit of America. I thought they all had names. So who've we got here? Oh, I think they might have a problem with their descriptions down in there. Because, yeah, I think it should be different ones. We'll check in a moment, but it's just showing them as all being the same. So, yeah, there's a bit of problem down in there. Well, we won't worry about that. Colour call-outs, you can see down in there, it's only going to be two colours. So it's going to be gunship grey and that funky light grey on top as well of that one. So you can see your various colour call-outs down there. So we've got Mr. Paint colours for the MRPs as well, showing it as 99. I'm just seeing what 99 is. 99 is just the white, okay? And then 40. So we're just seeing where we've got with 40 down in here, 40, 39, 40, which is gunship grey, they're calling it for. Yeah, I'm just not 100% on those colours, so maybe it may be something to have a little bit of a play with. It's also mentioning down in here that the decals are by 2 bobs as well. Okay, so in the box, we are greeted by, and again, this is the first time I've actually looked. Looks like I want to sit there. Let's grab something heavy to weight him down. There we go. As I say, we haven't seen one of their kits before, so this is genuinely the first time I've even looked in here to have a bit of a look-see. We can see it's very nicely protected and packaged. We've got the decals, just down like that. We've got a little bit of photo etch, and as you can see, this is something quite nice. We've got a foam insert to protect these parts, which we're assuming, there we go, we come apart like that. Let's pop that down on the floor. So we've got the wing sections, cracking, like getting a gun. Okay, so, and then we've got the upper and lower parts. So I don't want to damage these getting these out. Okay, and there's your wings, giving you an idea of the scale of this beast. Okay, and then down under here we've got the little booklet. Very strong, sturdy box. In fact, the box is really heavy. Okay, so a nice little booklet as well with this one. So we can see down in here, we've got obviously a little bit about it. We've got the real life dimensions, things like that down in here. Part trees, as we'd imagine, right the way through. Then we're into the build itself. So we've got the cockpit. Looks quite basic, but because you're not going to see much of this, I think it's all there. It's nice that it's got the entire cabin area with this one as well, right the way through. So you've got the forward cabin, the rear cabin, the seats being fitted in. We've got photo etch for the instrument panels, which is a very nice touch. Those all being fitted down there. Control grips as well, showing exactly where they're going. Some nice, clear, concise instructions. The actual instrument panel, and then being flipped over again, showing how that's positioned, which is a really nice touch. And then we're working through the wheel wells. So we've got the main wheel wells and gear being fitted down into those. Okay, and then we've actually got the bombs. So we've got these rotary bomb bays with standard freefall bombs onto this one. And then being fitted the bomb bays down into the other part as well, and then obviously sections going in there as well. And then obviously we've got the doors, these ones down in here we're shooting for the engine bays, and then we've got the covers on the top looking down, because obviously it's upside down, and then nose wheel well being fitted in there, as you can imagine. And then boarding area for the crew coming up inside, and then the boarding ladder being fitted, the cockpit section in internals being fitted down in there, and then we've got these areas for the tops of the engines being fitted in with the actual extra vent doors being open or closed. And then we've got the engines, which are quite nice as well. So we've got nice detailed engines for the inside right the way in there. It is saying about nose weight, so you are going to get in here around about 50 grams of nose weight, just to make sure you're not going to have a tail stitcher on your hands. Gear going on, and then actuators for door. We've got these little air deflectors being put down on the front for clean separations of the weapons. Doors all being fitted, assuming you can have open or closed. Main gear going down in there, and then obviously doors being fitted onto this one, and then it's into the wing sections. Wing sections obviously put through. We've got all the parts down in here. Some of them look like they could be posable open or closed, but generally looks like they're going to be in one position, unless you can do a little bit of tooling yourself on that one right the way through. And then it's a butt joint. That's always going to be the one for this tail one and this surface one to be put in there. Okay, so we've got the butt joints in there. Then you obviously got down in here, you've got your decal placement and your colour call out, which you can see is pretty much gunship grey everywhere over it. And then your different versions. Have they got this one right? Spirit of America, that's more like it. So we've got Spirit of America, which we was thinking. We've got Spirit of New York, and we've got Spirit of Mississippi as well. That's where the box art is a little bit wrong, okay? Well, we've got all of those facing down on there, because obviously you've got the doors, which are all different with the call outs on those, okay? Looks really good, very straightforward, you know, nothing over the top. Let's have a look at the smaller parts first. So beautiful to see, we have got just down in here some colour photo etch as well, which is a really nice touch with that one, you can see in there, so that's nice. We won't bother getting these out because, to be honest, there's not going to be a lot to look at, and it is 2 bobs, and 2 bobs, good company, so that you know those are going to be fine as well. And I do imagine 2 bobs actually do a section for this off. The clear part, so I'm not even really worried about getting these out of the bags because they look fantastically clear, concise, no problem with that. Again, gives you an idea of the scale. It's quite a large lump. And then let's get to the business end. Let's go straight into the top. This is the bit we want to see. You know, this is the thing. You've always got this thing about some of this detail. You're often, you know, is it in scale? Would it be like this? These are taped areas in theory and stuff like that. It looks like the panel lining is a little bit heavy running right the way down in here. You perhaps be hoping for it to be a little bit more lighter, perhaps a little bit more refined. But it is a big chunky bird, and again I think it will be obviously taking washes and details very, very easily, and to be honest the panel line is all clean, concise, goes right the way through, just it does look a little bit heavy, but there's a way around that. You can actually pop down quite a heavy primer coat onto this and help subdue some of those little panel lines, and I think you'll be absolutely fine with it. So generally very nice. The thing that sticks out, this is absolutely solid. It doesn't feel like a plastic kit. It feels more like, you know, like a kid's toy or something else like that, because it is extremely thick, very heavy duty plastic on this one. But there we go, that's that classic B2 shape to that one. So the underside, as I say, you're going to be putting all these sections as we saw. So these door areas, again, quite heavily done. You know, I suppose really it'll just be saying about the details are quite heavy on this one, but it's very muted. Everywhere else is what we want to see. We've got no sign of stress marks or ejector pins or anything else coming through it, which is a nice touch right the way through. And then obviously just have a quick mock-up here of how it's going to be. You can see how big this is going to be. It's going to be a big old chunk when this thing is all together. So again, very nice indeed. So the wing sections, you can imagine giving you an idea of scale with these. Very nice indeed. Again, I just can't help feel these are very much heavily overdone. We have got a few little stressy marks in from ejector pins, these ones here, but they haven't come through. And by the time you've got your primer coat on, I think they're going to be fine. No problem at all. Nice clean areas right the way through, but as I say, these are sticking a little bit proud, and perhaps this surface area might be a little bit small. So you just want to make sure you've got a good amount of glue in there to go through. And unfortunately, I'm saying the surface area is actually relief tabbed in, so you are going to have to come in and do a little bit of cleanup, because you can probably see we've got a nasty step just down in here. That's horrible. So you're going to be wanting to put some, maybe a little bit of packing in there just to make this at the right height, so you don't come along and clamp and over clamp, because that is a little bit heavy. And again, just, I don't know, I think it's going to be a little bit of cleanup. It's quite heavy for those areas. And then to get this into some sort of alignment, you can probably see how it's actually 2 different types of plastic as well between the areas. may be worth doing this as separates. So instead of actually coming in, maybe a case of actually gluing this as a separate fit like that and getting it perfect on the top. In that position, I'd be happy to sort of glue it like that. Then obviously the same for the underside, and then when you come with both parts together, physically laminating the lot, because this seam is going to be a lot more noticeable than this one under here, because obviously you're not going to see it. But it's just a little bit big, it's a little bit clunky for my liking. But generally the detail on all of these is very nice. It's clean, it's just a little bit big. Okay, into the small parts. So in our little bag here, let's just grab a knife. Okay. So in bag one, we have, again, really there's no need for a close-up. We have got a little stress, you can probably see it in here. The actual ejector pins is quite heavily and thickly moulded and put down. And it's, to be honest, this area over the top of the engine, it's not the nicest at all. Catch it in the light, hopefully you guys can see it. It's not the prettiest of moulds. It's almost like it's got little sink marks into these. Okay, and these are the top ones as well. And the reason for that is obviously it's a thick piece of plastic. And obviously just, I don't know, just not as nice. It's got a few little tooling marks, there's a few scratches in it. You know, not exactly the cleanest we've seen. It's big, it's clunky, but luckily it is a big and clunky type of aircraft. Bombs, well let's face it, that's standard sort of Mark 82s, which again, I'm assuming they're supposed to be Mark 82s. They don't look a brilliant shape, shall we say. I'm sure there's somebody's going to tell me they're not Mark 82s and they're something else, but they look a little bit Mark 82esque to me. Put that down there. Okay, so this little bag in here. Okay, so some of the smaller parts. So we've got, is it a match pair? It is a match pair for your left and right with this particular one. So as you can see, pretty much the details you'd expect. Again, I suppose the one thing that's coming out of this is that although the details all here, it just seems very large in scale and a little bit plasticky and a little bit chunky. It's a bit like these doors here. You know, again, I think really you'd be looking in photo etch as a replacement. The engines as well, it's got engines, but they're very basic engines on this one. Okay, but generally not too bad at all. And then last up, we've got the cockpit in here and all these other bits. So just okay, so down in here we can see again we've got some sink marks in here, but they're going to be no problem because it's just the inside of that internal weapons bay, and the weapons bay just looks a little bit heavy. And these door areas inside of the doors, again, nice that we don't have any ejector pins in there, but they just look a little bit big. Details in the cockpit pretty plain as well. And on the back side, again, luckily this is just swirling in the injection moulding process. But again, just have the feeling the details are a little bit heavy on that one. Okay, and then down in here, as you can see, we've got the doors, the side bays and things like that, and then down in here, nice that we don't have any ejector pins inside these actual intakes, which is quite a nice touch. And again, it's, don't know, it's maybe just a little bit heavy and clunky of what it is, but generally no problem. Like these here obviously are all going to come off anyway, you can just flick them off and they'll hang out of the way, and away you go. And there you have it. If you do want a giant, and that's what we're saying here, an absolute monster, if we just mock this up, just to give you guys an idea of what we've got. This is how big this thing is going to be. It's roughly going to be, we've got the wrong way around, let's go that way around, might even help. Tell you what, let's get rid of that. So it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of that, with that in on this. So when you're looking at a size thing which is bigger than my cutting mat, and I don't know if they've got sizes on the box, so yeah, wingspan of width 73 centimeters. You can see how big this thing is. It is an absolute monster. So that said, I think the detail is overdone. It's far too thick, it's far too clunky. The details internally it's just almost like it's almost bordering on toyish, shall we say, purely because the parts are very chunky and very big. But all of those are going to be internals. You're not going to see any of those, and you can then spend a little bit more time refining some of the details. But because this thing is 72nd scale, you could probably get away with some of this panel lining detail, even though I think it is a little bit heavy. But by clever use of changing the tones and the colours, perhaps of the panels to help break it up, that will then subdue those panel lines and not make them stick out perhaps as far as you did. And certainly you want to avoid heavy dark washes in those panel lines, because that's just going to make them jump out even more. But it is what it is, and it is the best 1/72 B2 Spirit you're going to find. And I can't imagine any other manufacturer, for the short while anyway, coming out with one. So if you do want one, this is where you're going to go every time right the way through. Again, shameless plug, it is available through the PM Models store. We are aware, to be honest with you, that this particular one has been discontinued. And the new one that's coming out is just coming along with a different weapons load. So this kit is going to come back in stock very, very soon. But this one was the first release. The second release is coming with a different weapons fit. So we're assuming it's not going to come with like Mark 82s or whatever it's got in there at the moment, or Mark 84s. It's going to come with a different type of weapons load. That's the only difference. The kit itself and the B2 is just going to be the same. So it might be a different box art, things like that, but it is technically the same kit inside. So there we go. That is Modelcollect 1/72 B2 Spirit.